Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different, and it's going to completely flip your perspective on what it actually means to reach the absolute apex of financial success. I want you to step directly into the shoes of someone hypothetical, but honestly highly plausible, the world's very first trillionaire. We're going to take a sort of second-person day-in-the-life journey here. You know, we always think about the yachts, the pure power, the ultimate freedom. But the source material we're exploring today maps out a much, much colder reality. We're going to dig into the daily pressures, the literally unimaginable isolation, and the incredibly bizarre psychological toll of having a net worth that rivals entire nations.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to start with the sheer scale of the math. Think about this. Imagine if you threw away $10,000 every single minute of every single day. If you did that, it would still take you 200 years to run out of money. At this level, you aren't just participating in the global market. Actually, scratch that. You are the market. Your morning mood shifts entire economies. But as you're about to see, arriving at this absolute pinnacle comes with a sudden deafening silence. You quickly realize that being an economic god is, well, it's very, very quiet.
Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the Fortress of Solitude, Physical Isolation.
So as a trillionaire, you hit this wall where you realize you simply cannot live in a city anymore. And it's not because you hate the hustle and bustle. It's because the noise around you isn't traffic anymore. It's 10,000 people constantly trying to get into your orbit to pitch you their can't-miss business idea. Every time you step out your front door, you aren't a neighbor, you're a walking lottery ticket to literally everyone you meet. So what do? You retreat. You are forced to buy a massive 20,000-acre sanctuary up in the Rockies. And you can't just hire normal security, right? You end up hiring a former intelligence director just to run your perimeter. You effectively have to build your own sovereign state just to get 5 minutes of peace.
And this really illustrates the absurdity of your new life. When you decide you want a private jet, you don't go to a dealership. You just buy the entire aerospace manufacturer, strictly so they only build planes for you. And to your accountants, acquiring thousands of engineers and factories costs roughly 0.1% of your net worth. It is a literal rounding error. It's a staggering flex of power, for sure, but it's also deeply, deeply isolating. You are literally buying your way out of shared human infrastructure.
Moving on to Section 2, the exhaustion of yes, social isolation.
Now, think about your oldest friends for a second. Before the money, these were the people who grounded you, right? They roasted you for wearing an ugly shirt. They fiercely disagreed with your politics. But after you hit $1 trillion, you host a dinner party and the vibe is just off. Everyone is stiff. Nobody disagrees with a word you say. You tell a terrible, objectively unfunny joke, and the laughter from the table is just a little too loud and it lasts just a little too long. And it dawns on you, they aren't looking at their old friend anymore. They are looking at a walking bank who could pay off all their mortgages with the pocket change in his jacket. That genuine friction, the exact thing that makes human connection real, is just gone.
Which brings us to this profoundly heavy realization: the yes is more exhausting than a no ever was. When everyone constantly agrees with you, when every single whim is immediately validated, reality itself turns into a funhouse mirror. You totally lose your compass. The emotional weight of this is so intense that eventually you just stop calling your friends. It is simply easier to be alone than to constantly navigate those unspoken, transactional looks in the eyes of the people you used to love.
Let's look at how this escalates in Section 3, the ghost in the machine, loss of privacy.
Let's walk through a 2 a.m. scenario that perfectly captures this absolute claustrophobia. It's the middle of the night. You can't sleep, and you just want a sandwich. Just a simple, ordinary human desire. You shuffle down the hallway of your massive estate toward the kitchen. But the second you step out of your bedroom, invisible motion sensors track your path. By the time you reach the kitchen, literally less than 30 seconds later, your night shift chef is already standing there, apron tied, wide awake, and waiting for your order. You realize in that exact moment, you can't even experience hunger in private anymore. Your most basic biological needs are monitored and managed by a massive system.
You see, you're surrounded by a staff of 80 highly trained professionals, but the intimacy they share with you is incredibly sterile. They know exactly what your blood pressure is doing. They track your precise REM sleep schedule. They know the exact vintage of your favorite wine and keep it perfectly chilled. But if you pulled any of them aside, not a single one of them actually knows your middle name. They know your data intimately, but they utterly lack any genuine human connection with you.
To the staff that operates your entire life, your identity has fundamentally shifted. You aren't a person with quirks and flaws to them. In the security logs and the staff manuals, you are just referred to as the principal. You've basically ceased to be a human being and morphed into a corporate entity. You aren't a boss.
You are the living, breathing reason 80 families have a pension plan. You're a localized economy, and everyone treats you with this cautious reverence, like they're handling highly volatile machinery.
And the pressure doesn't stop at your property line. Section 4. The Infinite Legal Siege. Calculated Settlements.
Because even if you hide in the mountains, wealth of this magnitude attracts an endless legal siege from the outside world. And when you look at the actual data, the claims levied against a fortune of your size are deeply, deeply absurd. You aren't just getting sued over corporate mergers. You get served papers by someone claiming you stole the vibe of their startup back in 2012. You face a lawsuit because someone says your security detail looked at them too aggressively on a public sidewalk. But the truly alienating part, it's not the lawsuits themselves. It's how your legal team handles them. Your lawyers don't even bother asking if you're guilty. Guilt, innocence, right, wrong, those concepts just don't apply to you anymore. The only strategy is a cold calculation. Exactly how much money will it take to make this headline disappear before the morning news cycle?
So, the crucial point boils down to this math. Your time is worth $11,000 a second. Going to court to defend your honor or to prove it didn't steal some random guy's vibe is just a mathematical waste of profit. If you spend an hour in a deposition, you have mathematically lost tens of millions of dollars of productive market time, so you pay the settlements over and over and over again, because your entire existence has been reduced to cold, hard, exceptionally expensive seconds.
Which brings us to our final point, Section 5, the starry silence, ultimate isolation.
I want you to imagine stepping out of that massive mountain estate, getting away from the lawyers and the chefs, and walking out onto your perfectly climate-controlled balcony. You step outside, and the air is the exact perfect temperature, because you quite literally pay a team to maintain the climate control around your patios. You look up at the horizon and you see the stars. And they are the exact same stars you used to look up at from your parents' backyard when you were 12 years old. Back then, you looked up, the universe was vast, the world was big, and you were small. But tonight, it's completely different. As you stand there, you hear this quiet, mechanical hum. You look back at the house, and the high-end security cameras are pivoting. Their red lights are blinking, tracking your every single move. They are the only things in your entire world that never, ever take their eyes off you.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering question. You achieved the impossible. You bought the world. So why have you never felt smaller? This is the core paradox of infinite wealth that the source material lays bare. By acquiring ultimate financial freedom, you inadvertently construct a prison of ultimate human isolation. You completely conquer the market, only to become a ghost haunting your own trillion-dollar machine. It's a fascinating, honestly terrifying trade-off. Think about that the next time you dream of hitting the ultimate jackpot. What are you actually willing to trade for it? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.